Imagine this. On one side, a Hollywood megastar, The Rock, who walked away from wrestling at the peak of his fame. On the other, a hard-working warrior, John Cena, who carried WWE on his back for more than a decade. When John Cena and The Rock finally stood face to face, it wasn't just a match. It was about respect, legacy, and proving who the true legend really was. For the first time ever, two generations collided in the ring. Fans were divided, chants of "Let's go Cena" echoing across the arena, while Rocky shook the stadium walls. This was more than wrestling. This was a cultural war. CTA, call to action. And tonight, we're diving deep into WWE's greatest rivalry, John Cena versus The Rock. But before we begin, if you love legendary stories, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. And the most important question, who's your pick? Team Cena or Team Rock? Let's find out together. When The Rock walked out of WWE in the early 2000s, he left as one of the biggest names the business had ever seen. He had electrified millions, headlined WrestleMania after WrestleMania, and carried the company through one of its greatest eras. But when Hollywood called, The Rock answered. And for years, the WWE Universe wondered if they'd ever see him again inside a squared circle. Meanwhile, the company needed a new hero. Someone to step up, someone who could take the weight of the entire brand on his shoulders. That man was John Cena. Cena wasn't born into the business like some, and he wasn't handed opportunities. He started as a hungry rookie with a dream. Slowly, he earned his way to the top with sheer determination and a personality that connected with millions. From rapping in chain gang attire to becoming the face of hustle, loyalty, respect, Cena represented the working class fans who never stopped fighting. But there was always a problem. No matter how much success Cena achieved, no matter how many championships he won, the shadow of The Rock still hung over him. Fans never forgot the Great One. Even in Cena's biggest moments, you could hear it. Chants of Rocky, Rocky, echoing through arenas, almost like a reminder that The Rock's legacy was still alive. And Cena felt it. Deep down, he knew. As long as The Rock's name lived in the hearts of fans, his own legacy would never be truly complete. So he did something no one expected. He spoke out. On live television, in front of millions, John Cena broke the silence. He called out The Rock, not with cheap insults, but with sharp, personal words. He accused him of turning his back on WWE. He said The Rock was too focused on Hollywood movies, too busy with red carpets and premieres, and had forgotten the very fans who once chanted his name. Those words cut deep, because they weren't part of a script. They came from real emotion. Cena wasn't playing a character that night. He was speaking from his heart. And it worked. The Rock heard him. The world heard him. And soon, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment returned. The night The Rock walked back into a WWE ring after years away. The roof nearly blew off the night The Rock walked back into a WWE ring after years away. The roof nearly blew off the arena. The music hit, the crowd roared. And for the first time in nearly a decade, fans saw their hero back where he belonged. He didn't smile. He didn't shake hands. He walked straight to that ring, stood toe-to-toe with John Cena, and the electricity was unforgettable. Two eras, two icons, two men who had carried WWE in their own way, now standing across from one another. The tension was real. The respect wasn't there yet. And the rivalry? It had just been born. From that moment on, the world knew. It was only a matter of time before John Cena and The Rock collided on the grandest stage of them all. The year was 2011. For the first time in history, WWE made an announcement that shook the entire sports world. John Cena versus The Rock. WrestleMania 28. The tagline? Once in a lifetime. The build-up was unlike anything fans had ever seen. For an entire year, the WWE Universe waited. Promos turned into personal shots, and personal shots turned into real-life tension. This wasn't just entertainment. This was a battle of pride. The Rock mocked John Cena's colorful merchandise, his catchphrases, and even called him the Fruity Pebbles of WWE. Cena fired back, saying Rock had abandoned the company, only showing up when it was convenient. Week after week, their war of words grew more venomous, and fans loved it. By the time April 1st, 2012 arrived, Miami's Sun Life Stadium was ready to explode. Over 78,000 fans packed the arena, making it one of the largest WrestleManias of all time. The energy in the air was electric. You could feel it through the screen. Half the stadium erupted with chants of, "Let's go Cena." The other half screamed, "Rocky, Rocky." It wasn't just a wrestling match. It was a cultural collision. Two eras colliding under the brightest lights. The entrances alone told the story. The Rock walked into his hometown with fireworks and thunder, greeted like a returning king. Cena entered to a sea of mixed reactions, boos raining down, but cheers just as strong. He knew this was the biggest match of his career. He had carried the company for years, but if he didn't win tonight, none of that would matter. The bell rang. For over 30 minutes, the two icons gave everything they had. The Rock, slightly older, used his power and explosiveness. Cena, younger and sharper, relied on resilience and willpower. Every move, every kick-out sent shockwaves through the crowd. Then came the ending no one saw coming. Cena, perhaps too confident, tried to deliver The Rock's own finishing move, the People's Elbow. But he paid the price. The Rock countered, hit the rock bottom, and pinned John Cena in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. The stadium shook as fireworks exploded. The Rock had done it. He defeated WWE's franchise player on the grandest stage of them all. For Cena, it wasn't just a loss. It was humiliation. He had promised victory. He had guaranteed it to the world. And yet, in front of millions, he failed. As The Rock celebrated, Cena sat on the ramp, staring into the crowd with empty eyes. That image would haunt him forever. Once in a lifetime had become a reality, and John Cena's greatest nightmare. After WrestleMania 28, John Cena was a broken man. For the first time in years, the face of WWE had been defeated on the grandest stage, in the biggest match of his career. And not just defeated, he was humiliated, left lying in the middle of the ring while The Rock stood tall. For weeks, fans questioned him. Critics said maybe Cena wasn't as great as he claimed to be. The Rock had returned after years away and still beat him. Maybe Cena's time was over. But here's the thing about John Cena. He was built on failure. Every setback in his career had only made him stronger. And instead of running from his loss, Cena faced it head-on. He admitted it was the lowest point of his career. He told the world that losing to The Rock had shaken him to his core. But instead of quitting, he used that pain as fuel. Night after night, Cena continued to show up. No matter how loud the boos were, no matter how divided the crowd became, He kept walking to that ring. And in his heart, one phrase kept driving him forward: never give up. The Rock may have beaten him once, but Cena knew that wasn't the end of the story. He trained harder, focused deeper, and reminded himself that real champions are not defined by one match, but by how they respond after defeat. Meanwhile, The Rock's victory at WrestleMania only boosted his legacy. He returned to Hollywood as a bigger star than ever, but his presence in WWE wasn't done yet. And so the seeds were planted. The fans began to whisper, what if they meet again? Could Cena redeem himself? Could he rewrite his legacy by beating the very man who embarrassed him? John Cena wasn't just looking for a rematch. He was looking for redemption. He wanted to prove not only to the world, but to himself, that he truly belonged among the greatest of all time. And destiny, it was about to give him that chance. Because 1 year later, the stage would be set again. WrestleMania 29. The Rock vs. John Cena. Round 2. 1 year after his crushing defeat, John Cena was given the chance of a lifetime. A rematch against The Rock, this time at WrestleMania 29. But this wasn't just any rematch. The stakes were even higher. The Rock had returned once again, and this time he was the WWE champion. For Cena, this wasn't only about revenge. It was about redemption. The build-up told two very different stories. The Rock, the legend who left, returned, and proved he still had what it takes. He walked into WrestleMania with the title around his waist, and the confidence of a man who had already beaten his rival once. Cena, the man who had endured humiliation, criticism, and doubt for an entire year. He had to prove to himself, to the fans, and to the entire world that he wasn't just the face of WWE. He was one of the greatest of all time. When April 7th, 2013 arrived, MetLife Stadium was electric. More than 80,000 fans packed the arena. The atmosphere was deafening, a mix of cheers, boos, and anticipation. Everyone knew this wasn't just another match. This was a collision of legacies. As the bell rang, the energy shifted. The Rock fought with intensity, but Cena was different this time. He wasn't overconfident. He wasn't distracted. Every move he made had purpose. Every counter was sharper. Every kick-out showed his determination. The match went back and forth. Near falls, finishers, and moments where the crowd thought it was all over. But Cena refused to break. He refused to let history repeat itself. Then came the critical moment. The Rock went for a second rock bottom. But Cena countered, lifted The Rock onto his shoulders, and with the entire world watching, he delivered the attitude adjustment. 1, 2, 3. The stadium erupted. John Cena had done it. He had finally defeated The Rock, clean, in the middle of the ring, and reclaimed his place at the very top of WWE. But what happened next may have been even more powerful than the victory itself. As Cena celebrated, he looked at The Rock, beaten, exhausted, but still standing tall. And instead of mocking him or rubbing it in, Cena extended his hand. The Rock accepted. The two men embraced in the middle of the ring, showing the world that this rivalry, built on tension and pride, had finally transformed into respect. That handshake, that hug, was more than just sportsmanship. It was the passing of the torch. It was the acknowledgement that both men had made each other better, and that both were destined to be remembered as legends. For Cena, this wasn't just a win. It was redemption. It was validation. And it was the night he proved that failure can build greatness. After WrestleMania 29, The rivalry between John Cena and The Rock reached its natural conclusion. The two biggest icons of their eras had clashed not once, but twice, on the grandest stage of them all. Cena had earned his redemption, The Rock had cemented his legendary status, and together, they had given the world two of the most unforgettable matches in WWE history. But beyond the fireworks, beyond the chants, something deeper happened. A rivalry built on tension and personal words had transformed into something far greater. Respect. Behind the scenes, The Rock praised Cena's work ethic. He admitted that while their feud felt personal at times, he respected the fact that Cena had carried WWE on his back for over a decade. He understood the pressure of being the face of the company, because he had once lived it himself. And Cena, on his part, openly thanked The Rock. He recognized that The Rock wasn't just an opponent. He was the measuring stick, the one challenge that forced Cena to push himself beyond his limits. Without The Rock, Cena's greatest story would have never been written. Fans also began to see things differently. What started as a divided war, with chants of "Let's go Cena" and "Rocky," splitting arenas, slowly shifted into unity. They realized that both men had given everything for the business, just in different ways. The rivalry wasn't about hate anymore. It was about proving yourself, fighting for your legacy, and in the end, shaking hands with the very man who tested you the most. And that is why the image of Cena and Rock, standing side by side after their second match, remains one of the most powerful moments in WWE history. It showed the world that true greatness isn't just about winning or losing, it's about respect. For John Cena, this moment was validation. For The Rock, it was a reminder of his roots. And for the fans, it was history. A rivalry that began with insults and ended with honor. The story of John Cena versus The Rock is more than just wrestling history. It's more than two main events at WrestleMania. At its core, this rivalry is about life itself, about struggle, failure, redemption, and above all, respect. Think about John Cena. Here's a man who had it all. The championships, the fame, the spotlight. And yet, on the biggest night of his career, he lost. Not just to anyone, but to the very man he called out. The one person he needed to beat to secure his legacy. Imagine the weight of that humiliation. For an entire year, every time Cena walked into an arena, he knew the world remembered his defeat. Most people would crumble under that pressure. Most people would walk away. But not Cena. He took the pain, he took the criticism, and he turned it into fuel. He came back stronger, sharper, more determined. And 1 year later, he rewrote his story. The lesson? Failure is not the end. Failure is the beginning. If you refuse to give up, even your darkest night can lead to your brightest dawn. Now think about The Rock. He left WWE at his peak to chase a bigger dream. And many thought he had abandoned wrestling. But when he returned, he proved that you can evolve, you can leave, you can chase new horizons, and still come back to your roots, stronger than ever. His presence reminded fans that true greatness isn't about where you are. It's about how you impact people, whether in a ring or on a movie screen. The lesson? Never forget your foundation, no matter how far you go. And then, there's the most powerful moment of all, the handshake. Two men who had spent years trading insults, questioning each other's worth, stood in front of the world and showed respect. That image speaks louder than any championship belt. It says, real strength isn't in beating your rival. Real strength is in respecting your rival. For the fans, this rivalry became more than chants and catchphrases. It became a reminder that even the greatest legends face setbacks, doubts, and criticism. And yet, the ones who rise above, who continue to fight, who turn rivals into allies, those are the ones who inspire generations. So what do we learn from Cena versus Rock? That no matter how great your rival may be, no matter how heavy your defeat, if you have the courage to keep going, one day you'll earn not only victory, but respect. That's not just a WWE lesson. That's a life lesson. The rivalry between John Cena and The Rock will forever be remembered as one of WWE's greatest stories. It wasn't just about two matches, it wasn't just about titles. It was about two eras colliding, two icons testing each other, and ultimately proving that respect is greater than rivalry. For The Rock, this feud was a reminder of his roots. He had conquered Hollywood. He had become one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. But when he returned to WWE, he showed the world that no matter how far you go, you should never forget where you came from. He came back not just to perform, but to inspire, to show that the fire of the people's champion still burned inside him. For John Cena, this rivalry was the defining chapter of his career. He carried WWE through some of its toughest years, facing boos and cheers, love and hate, every single night. But when he lost to The Rock, it could have broken him. Instead, it made him stronger. That redemption at WrestleMania 29 wasn't just a victory in the ring. It was a victory for every fan who has ever failed and fought their way back. And for the fans, this rivalry was magic. It was the chants echoing through packed stadiums. It was the promos that blurred the line between reality and fiction. It was the drama, the tension, the respect that grew out of conflict. Years later, when people talk about the greatest rivalries in wrestling history, Cena versus The Rock will always be near the top. Not because of hatred, but because of the lessons it gave us. That rivals can push each other to greatness, that respect can grow from the hardest battles, and that true legends are defined not just by their victories, but by how they inspire the world. And that's why this story lives on. Not just in WWE history, but in the hearts of millions who watched it unfold. Closing, neutral version in English. And that brings us to the end of today's legendary story. A tale of rivalry, redemption, and above all respect between John Cena and The Rock. But remember, this is just one chapter in Cena's incredible journey. There are still so many stories to tell, so many moments to relive, and so many lessons to share. Before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and in the comments tell us, were you Team Cena or Team Rock? Your voice matters, and we can't wait to hear from you. This is Legend Tales, and we'll be back soon with another unforgettable story.